No,
Or is that
yeah,
a side note?
no. That was just a question. What are some of the things I guess pertaining to God's word that you may have been studying, maybe you've been pondering on, or just from the perspective, Lord, I need to know more about you in this particular area. Has there been any for yourself?
Well, right now, since my life is taking this direction as in business, I definitely need that. I've always been, always been in a management position at every location or every company that I've worked for. I've
Mhm.
always strived for that. But to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, that's a whole different beast. You know,
Yeah, different mindset for sure.
exactly. So I mean, I a lot of it is just wisdom and discernment. Of course, that's right now that's my main focus is wisdom on how to do this. Um, of course, favor and with people that I'm going to meet potentially inspectors or whatever.
Definitely, definitely.
That's where I'm at right now. My main prayers that I do in the morning or at night or whenever I feel like he needs to talk. Um,
Makes sense.
yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Well, that's good. I would say that, for myself, one of the things I've been really focusing on is as as the church.
Mhm.
I'm not necessarily speaking about the places we go that we call church. I'm speaking from us as the church, as believers. What, Lord, what is it that you're requiring of me as the church and other believers? And when
Mhm.
I really sit down and really read and uncover what His Word is sharing, there is so much more that He is expecting of us as believers, as the church. And so that's just been a lane I've been in for quite some time. And I always switch lanes, from time to time, but I'm always, but I'm only assuming that the Lord wants me to stay there for a period of time and just really understand that I want to be the church in my everyday life,
Yeah.
not just on a particular day of the week for a certain amount of time of a day, but being the church every day. And what does that truly looks like? And so I was reading this morning about the one another's when Jesus was sharing with the disciples. He was talking about the one another's, like love one another.
Mhm.
He says, the world will know you or know me by the love you have one for another. So I says, wow, there's a lot of things he could have said that the world will know him through our love from one another. But he said any other thing. But he says, when the world sees you and other believers loving each other, that's going to testify who I am. And that really changed how I begin to look at us as believers. We have to find ourselves in many spaces and places as often as possible.
Mhm.
So it gives the world an opportunity to see that we really love and care for one another. But for me, that's just been a long going, just time that I've just been really trying to reflect on. Lord, if I see it in your word and it makes sense, and that's what you want, then I have a due diligence to adjust my life according to what that is,
Yeah.
and do my best to encourage and motivate others to do likewise. But that's just been the vein that I've been in for quite some time. And as I mentioned before, I may go into different areas, but that's just been one I've been kind of stuck on for quite some time. But yeah,
Yeah.
cool, cool. About ready to
Yeah.
get this started, Mr. J?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I'm ready. So,
Go
welcome
ahead.
back to the Mantra Ranch Tuso experience, where faith, grit, and purpose come together to redefine what it means to be a strong man of God. I'm Marlo, and sitting beside me is my brother Jay. Today's conversation is real and it's necessary. The title is What Happens When a Man Heals? And the truth behind it is simple: healing the man heals the home. Most of us never were taught how to be healed. We were taught to how to survive, how to push through, how to work, how to provide, and how to how to stay standing no matter what's going on the inside. So we end up with men who show up physically, but emotionally, they're distant, reactive, or shut down. They're not abusive, nor careless, just unhealed. Most men aren't broken. They're wounded they're wounded and never shown what healing actually looks like. And here's the difference. Unhealed men lead from pain. Healed men lead from purpose. Jay, let me ask you this question. What actually happens when a man heals?
Oh, that's a good question. That question cuts pretty deep. Healing gets misunderstood a
Yeah.
lot. Healing isn't avoiding your responsibilities. It's not blaming trauma like forever. Yes, you might come with some trauma. You might have encountered it, but you can't just keep taking it with you. It's like a trash bag full of your fears, full of your trauma, and you're just holding on to it like a
Yeah.
backpack. You're
True.
just walking around all day with it, every day, and people notice that. People can see that.
True. Yeah.
When you're walking around beaten down and and hurt, people can see it. Even though you try to hide it the best you can, it gets noticed. Um, and it's not becoming passive or soft when you get to heal. A lot of maybe people saying, "Oh, as men, you need to hold on to that." No, healing is ownership. You got to take ownership of that.
Yeah.
You got to grab it and say, "Hey, I'm going to do this for me. I'm going to do this for my family." It's taking responsibility for your pain and allowing God to transform it instead of pretending it doesn't exist. Like in Psalms 34:18 says, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, and He saves the crushed in spirit." God doesn't shame our wounds. He meets us in them. He never asks us to fake strength. He asks for honesty, and when a man gets honest with God, that's when real change starts.
And that's true. It's, man, I look at as men, and we'll probably touch on this a little bit more as we go along,
Hmm.
but we look at Macho Ranch. You know, as men, we want to carry this persona that everything is okay.
Yeah.
We answer questions with two words. Man, how's it going? I'm good.
Good.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Hmm.
Nothing's wrong. You know,
Yeah.
because we want to give the perception, especially to another man, man, I'm good. Or when it's either with our spouse or even our children, we have to show this strong front. But on the inside, we're dealing with a lot of things, and it comes out,
That's true.
but sometimes it's not necessarily identifiable to the untrained ear.
Hmm.
Now, if you were speaking to a therapist or someone of that nature in that field, they can just watch your behavior,
Yeah.
hear what you say, watch what you do, and they can detect that's a hurt person. The everyday person like myself probably wouldn't be able to identify it
Hmm.
to that degree. I'm a response to the actions in which I see. But internally, there are things that there are so much deeper that we go through. And at 55 here in the next couple of months, man, I've dealt with a lot of things that I never verbalized.
Hmm.
Things that I just wish they would just go away. Or, because sometimes we think time. I don't say nothing, and different aspects of life begins to transpire, and before we know it, that issue becomes suppressed. But then one thing happens, and that thing comes right back to the surface,
Yeah.
and it's that hurt.
Well, I guess that's kind of how we've been trained.
Yeah,
The old saying, time heals all wounds.
yeah,
Um, in a sense, it does, but you bring a great point. Is you keep suppressing it, and suppressing it is not healing.
correct. Yeah,
That's not healing. You're just pushing it down until one small thing triggers it,
it
and
does.
it just blows out of proportion just because you've been holding it in for a while.
And
That's
that's
true.
something that you alluded to earlier, is that
Mm-hmm.
being unhealed is not necessarily someone, as men, being weak. It's about the untreated pain.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read this. Study shows that men account for nearly 75% of suicides in this country, and we are far less likely to seek help for emotional or eternal struggles. Kids raised with emotional, unavailable fathers often carry higher levels of anxiety, aggression, and trust issues. Many men in prison trace their story back to father absence, unresolved trauma, or wounds that were never addressed. Now, within that short statement or short paragraph alone, that says a whole lot without saying a whole lot.
Yeah.
It says 75% of suicides in this country are men.
Wow. Yeah.
Man, I look at my
That's.
life. I have three. I have two sons. I have four children, two boys, two girls. But let's just say I had four boys.
Mm-hmm.
Our statistics shows that three of my children, and when they become men, will commit suicide. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
And you think about the number of parents who've lost sons, wives who've lost husbands, children who has lost fathers, and those who have lost brothers, aunts, and uncles and cousins. We think about that. That says a lot. But it goes on to say that we are far less likely to seek help for emotional and eternal struggles.
Yeah.
And
That is
that's
true.
just a question. Let us just talk about that just for a brief moment of why do we think or believe we as men are far less likely to seek help for eternal and emotional struggles. What's some of your initial thoughts come to that, Jay?
The first thing that comes to mind is you don't get help. You deal with it because you're a man. You deal with it on your own.
Right.
Um, or there's no help out there, or people don't know what I'm going through. It's a special case.
Hmm.
And we as men, almost everyone dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
It can be from emotion to physical to mental. There's different areas that men are struggling in, and sometimes we just don't know which way to go. You know,
That's so true.
and it and for some men in their eyes, it looks weak to go to a therapist
It
to
does.
get an opinion from a woman or a man, maybe another man, but um, I just say woman because most of the time when I see movies, the therapists
So women.
are women. You know what I'm saying? Are women. So and I think about it this way: if someone's gonna really feel me, it's gonna have to be a man. Not
Got it.
not to
Got it. Follow
sound
you.
macho or whatnot. It's like a man knows what a man's gonna go through emotionally and physically. Yes, you've probably been in the game a long time. You've seen a lot of cases. With
Right.
the women I'm speaking, but on another level, that man's gonna understand something that the women not gonna catch.
In some depth, some aspects. I would say
Hmm.
this, like in my experience, just being a veteran in the military. When I was in the service, I was in an all male unit, and Macho-ness was there all the time, 100%.
Yeah.
We on 100 every day. We're trying to prove to the next man,
Yeah.
I'm the fastest, the strongest, the
Yep.
smartest, the quickest. You know, our section is the best. You know, we have the most accuracy, and we're on 100 every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Now, even in all the things that we dealt with, my exposure and many other soldiers like myself in that same field, we dealt with a lot. And we were always, man, just shrug it off, man. You got it. You know, it's just that military jargon that we use. They say, man, just brush that off. Keep going, man. Keep it moving, man. Don't go to sick call. You good?
But my arms hanging off.
Man, just put some tape on it. Keep going. You know, those little simple things, and I didn't recognize it then, but I recognized it much later on in life. That, man, I probably should have took better care of myself. I probably should have went to sick call when I had the time when I was dealing with something.
Yeah.
You know, when you're exposed to, I'm touching on an area that's pretty sensitive to me right here. When you have a soldier that you have a relationship with, as far as your connection, you seen them every day. You guys are doing PT, that's physical training for those who may not know that terminology. And we're going on field exercises, and we go to the gun range. And next thing you know, you hear a gunshot. And come to find out, it was that soldier that committed suicide in a porta-john. We're hollering, everybody's jumping to the ground, ceasefire, not sure where it's coming from, and come to find out it is that soldier you've been knowing for the last couple of years. And that is a trauma that I experienced, but I never confronted till many, many years later. And I'm wondering why certain things are transpiring in my own life.
Yeah.
Until we begin to revisit some of the things that took place. Or when I was in Colorado, we're going on a field exercise. We have night maneuvers. And we are in this place called Pinyon Canyon. Those who are familiar with the area will know exactly what I'm referring to. And there's like little gullies where it's like little ravines that you can't see from your physical eyes, at least looking from a map, but you can see there's dead space looking through night vision goggles. And one of our tankers was driving through. They didn't see it. It tipped over. The tank commander came out. The tank food dropped on him and crushed him. Once again, ceasefire. All maneuvers stop. Old dog 30, which means it's pitch black. It's maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're wondering what's going on. Come to find out, it's one of our comrades from another unit that we see in passing. And that's another trauma. And once again, I didn't deal with that issue until many, many years later, but wondering why. Having that macho-ness. Man, I'm good. I got it. That don't bother me. I don't have no issues. But I had issues.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have addressed it much early on in my life, because maybe I wouldn't have dealt with some of the things that I dealt with as I was coming up. Like we were reading, sometimes I'm physically there. I'm providing for my home. I'm there for my children. But there's moments I was snapping, short.
Yeah.
Or daddy just had a long day. But there were so many other underlying issues that I had dealt with previous years that surface up, that comes up. But just thinking about that, man, and someone that has dealt with PTSD, you got these fleeting thoughts that goes through our mind at times. You're hypervigilant. You're always cognizant, back to the door. I'm sharing a little bit about my own life.
Yeah.
Because these are what? These are emotional internal struggles that we as men deal with. Now, it's not just for men,
Hmm.
Anybody, any male or female can experience these things. But when we speak from a male perspective, being a father, being a husband, they impact other areas of our life when go untreated,
Yeah.
when we're not healed from it. And at some point, I had to guess what? Get a therapist and begin talking these things through.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I didn't have a choice of who my therapist was.
Hmm.
They were women. And that's not to say anything in the negative
No,
connotation
no,
about
absolutely
women,
not. No.
but these were women who had been with the military for quite a long time, and they were able to relate to the stories and what I had, and equip me with tools
Yeah.
to use to help navigate this life that I now live with all of these other concerns in which I have.
Hmm.
And a lot of people end up taking their own lives because
Yeah,
they
you
can't
always hear
deal
stories
with
about that.
the
Yeah.
things in which they are currently dealing with.
Hmm.
So I'll pause for a quick second. If anyone is out there hearing us, and we're speaking right where you are. Maybe you're a veteran, maybe you're not. But if you are a veteran, I'll speak to you. Reach out to your VSO. Reach out to someone in the military, your caseworker, if it's your primary care physician, whoever that might be. Or if you've never made the call, make the call. Maybe you never did an inquiry, start the inquiry. If you need help, support, in navigating through those channels, you can always reach out to me. I'll be glad to help assist you in some form or fashion. But if you're not a veteran and you're just you're a non-veteran and you need help, partner with someone, a friend, your doctor, your physician, someone that can definitely get you the support and help that you might need. But I tell you, Jay,
Absolutely.
it's so important that as men that we get the help that we need, that we
Yeah.
don't become a statistic of someone taking our lives because the issues in which we're dealing with is too much for us to bear.
Yeah. That's sad. You hear that a lot, especially in that world. I don't. I've seen a lot in my life. I've never dealt with what the army does or the military or any personnel
Hmm.
like that in that aspect.
Right.
Um, but yes, once again, if you need someone to talk to, shoot us a DM.
Yeah.
Hit us up on TikTok, on YouTube, and we'll reach back out to you.
For
That
sure.
for sure. I mean, because that's a lot of times you need someone to talk to, and you don't know where to start. We're opening the door for you. Here's a start.
Good start.
Start with us. And if you can't get what we or we can't give you what you need, we'll find someone to do it.
That's for sure.
He definitely got a lot of resources. Hey, Google's there,
For
for
sure.
me,
It's there. Yep.
but we're not gonna we won't lead you the wrong way is what I'm trying to say. Um and as far as finding a therapist or whatnot, going back to just being women or what. I mean, hey, they're some of the best listeners.
For
That's
sure.
probably
Yeah.
the reason why.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
as a man, of course, he's gonna have his thoughts or whatnot, or maybe there's a co-ed therapist where it's a man and a woman. They're just both tag teaming you.
Right.
That'd be
Yeah. That's
that'd
for
be something
sure.
new
Yeah.
right there.
Yep.
But
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, we don't want to take this lightly, guys. Again, if you need just to talk or even text, shoot us a DM on our TikTok. Soon we'll probably have Twitter or YouTube. Just shoot us a DM. Hey, and we'll reach back out. We'll reach out to y'all, and we'll definitely pray for y'all and find help. You know,
And that's true, Jay. I look at that, and it's not to be uh, a downer in what we're sharing, but
no,
we also want to be able to also lift up. And what I mean by that, you know, let's let's talk about what happens when a man actually gets healed. Here's the shift. The reactive man becomes reflective. Before healing, everything feels like a threat. Short fuse, defensive, always needing to be right. After healing, there's pause, there's listening, there's the ability to apologize without excuses. James 1 and 19 says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. Healing doesn't remove strength, it redirects it. Jay, let's talk about what it looks like inside the home.
Yeah. So before hitting the home, the home's always tense.
Yeah.
The guy's always uptight, and he just has, like I said, if you're holding it in, people are gonna notice, especially if you're the man of the house, and you come in and the atmosphere just changes.
Correct.
You bring in that vibe, and then your kids have to walk on eggshells, which is not it's not fair for them. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and then your spouse ends up managing everyone's emotions, like talks to your kids and oh, don't worry, he's just having a bad day. Like you said, daddy's having a bad day. But peace, it depends on the man. The man is the one that changes the mood in in every situation. If you go into your house, you go into a board meeting, you go into at work, anywhere, especially if you're up higher in management. Um, I've noticed that in several occasions when at work areas, work related at least,
Mhm.
you go in there, you're gonna have a meeting, and it's a serious meeting. You can tell when the boss walks in. You're
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh man, something's going on.
Right.
So you bring that presence in, whether you feel that you're doing it or not,
Mhm.
especially if you're holding on to a lot of issues. And then after your healing, it's the emotional safety increases. Communication start opening up. Your kids they feel like they're able to come up to you and be like, "Hey, Dad, I got this issue," rather than if they see you already mad, they're like, "I can't give him something else."
Correct.
I can't put that something else on his plate. Then the home becomes more stable.
It
Everyone's
does.
on the same wavelength, I guess, and then the home just gets a big exhale. All
Right.
right,
Right.
we're good. But that's after healing.
That's after healing, and
Hmm.
I tell you, I know just a couple of stories that speaks to what we're talking about. Once the priest of the home, which we're speaking in the male aspect, gets the care he needs, the treatment he may need, or he's healed from the issues that he's dealing with,
Hmm.
or at least being able to manage those in a way that it doesn't come across where he is not approachable, and that's from any member of the family. But now we see that he's setting a new culture, a new tone in his family where dad, okay, we can approach dad about something.
Yeah.
Whereas a year ago, I better not say anything.
Mm-mm.
We do more avoiding him than connecting with him, and it changes.
Yeah.
But here's a quick story. In Matthew chapter 5, Jesus encountered this man. This man was isolated, he was violent, self destructive, and feared by everyone. After Jesus heals him, the Bible said he's clothed in his right mind and sitting at the feet of Jesus. Jesus didn't just cast out demons, he restored dignity, and healing didn't end with freedom, it led to assignment. Jesus sends him back to his community to tell his story, not to preach a sermon, to testify of transformation. And we think about this, and we may have experienced this in some one form or fashion when we may know of someone who had a similar behavior.
Hmm.
And we see them like 2 or 3 years later and says, man, who is that? Man, he is totally different than what I seen before. He used to be nauseous. Nobody wanted to deal with him. And you never know, that person may have had an encounter. He
Yeah.
may have had an encounter with Jesus. He may have had some treatment, some healing sessions to where now he's not wearing those things on his sleeves anymore.
Hmm.
He's a changed man. And I tell you, that changed our outlook, or it changed other people's outlook, their perspective of us. And when they see something that has changed on the inside, it manifests on the outside. And that's what happened with this man. It was something that man was dealing with on the inside that Jesus healed. And now that same one that people was afraid of, now he became a testament to what what God has done in his life. And I believe that's important for us. And when the Lord has taken us to a place where we are now healed, we're now on assignment. Now we're able to share our story. And that's, at least for me, from when I come from the Tuso perspective,
Mhm.
is sharing the knowledge in which we've had with other people. So if I went through the process of dealing with issues and now I'm a better man, I should be more inclined to be able to share with others. I'm a better man. I used to be that.
Yeah.
I used to say that, and how that has impacted my life and the life of those around me.
Mhm.
That gives encouragement. That gives strength. You become a voice to others.
Yeah, and that's I'm trying not to say to well, I guess so. I'm gonna say it like this. So when he healed this guy and he sent him off, that is like the perfect advertisement,
Hmm. Yeah,
because people seen him one way,
that's
and then
right.
the next way he's totally different.
Different. That's
You
right.
know, and that is just kind of like amazes me. Like it's not free advertisement, so to speak,
I follow you.
but like yeah, go on and show people what happened. And that speaks even greater volumes than when someone's just out there preaching and preaching and preaching.
Mhm.
In my eyes, because if you see a guy like you said, you see a friend or someone from high school and you knew him a certain way,
Correct.
and then you meet him 10 years later and he's a whole different person. Something changed inside of him,
Something changed on the
and he
inside.
doesn't need to preach to you because you
Correct.
already know.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right, right.
that's pretty good advertisement.
That's it. And here's the
you know,
thing. And once those people seen this man
yeah,
from afar, he comes
hmm
that crazy man,
yeah,
but they don't
oh
know
yeah,
that he has been changed.
yeah, absolutely,
He's
yeah,
been healed. So we can find ourselves in a current state now. Let us seek the help.
yeah,
Let us go in prayer. Whatever your spiritual walk may be. As a believer, I'm going to Christ. I'm going to pray. Ask God, hey, Lord, help me with the process. If He directs me to others that are a professional, a particular way, to help me talk through some things, then I'm going to sit and I'm going to talk through some things, and my healing
yeah,
may come through that avenue. But I can guarantee you this: the next time somebody sees me, I want them to recognize that that's not the same Marlon. Something different about him.
hmm
I can't put my finger on it, but something has changed. And I believe we don't have to stay where we are. It's a choice. I believe we have to choose to want to be healed, because it impacts not only our present, but it also impacts our future as well.
yeah. Because unhealed man, they tend to teach control.
Correct.
They want to control everything. A healed man teaches freedom.
Good. Yeah.
Healing it turns into wisdom. Wisdom then initially turns into empowerment, and then empowerment will turn into a legacy.
It's
And
good.
but it's taking that first step to be healed. Then you go into you get the wisdom from that. How I got healed. That way you can empower someone else.
Definitely. Definitely.
Because if a healed person can't heal another healed person, I mean, I'm sorry, a hurt person cannot
Yes.
heal
Follow you.
another hurt person, and then it turns into a legacy. Then you're like, okay, I can do this.
That's
You
true,
know?
man. That's true. And it's something that I definitely like to lean on more than ever when I'm out and about, and I'm just going through my normal routines, my
hmm
daily life. And I may encounter different people at different times, and we may have short conversations or long conversations.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best thing for me to do is to share my story. And that could be about any given thing. There's this one guy that I do speak to occasionally, and he's not as positive. When we're having this conversation, he's always asking me about the world events and what I think, and or do I think it should go this way or that way. Some things is far it's a far reach for any of us,
Yeah.
which means I can give my opinion about something, but that doesn't mean it's going to change.
No.
And for me, I try to stay away from certain conversations that I can evoke change. I just have to assess it and says, okay, what I must do given the situation. How does it impact me or those around me to be able to do that? And sometimes me sharing my story, I try to lean on the things that are positive because what he does, he always goes back to his childhood. He
Mhm.
always goes back to what he experienced.
Yeah.
And what I hear from that is hurt.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of pain in that. And what someone may not have done or what someone did and what someone's not willing to do. It's very unreachable to change the past. There's not much we can do with that. But we
Mhm.
definitely can move forward. And my encouragement would be at times is let's see what we can do going from here. Let's see what we can do for different going forward. And so that's just been my encouragement when I do find myself in certain conversations
Mhm.
that may revert back to the past that we cannot change, or a person that is hurt, trying to figure out, okay, what it is that person might need that I can at least bring some form of encouragement, some insight, or maybe point them in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's probably one of those guys. I don't know him, but
Mhm.
he's probably one of those guys when you say, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And
Right,
just
right.
like you gave that example, "Oh, we're good. I'm good. I'm good."
Right,
Until you have a serious
right.
conversation with them, and and hurt can come from anywhere. It can come from your spouse. You
True.
know, it could be something that she said years ago, and you're still holding on to it.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
I seen this video and it made a lot of sense. And this guy said, he goes, "Women, if your husband or your boyfriend or your man that you're dating tells you something confident,
Mhm.
don't ever use that against him.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because you will never get the truth out of him again."
That can be
And that goes
that can be
back,
challenging. Yeah.
yeah, that goes back to where, "Hey, babe, how's it going? Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I might not be good,
Correct.
but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna tell you."
So true,
You know,
man. So true.
and that goes
So
with
true.
friends, with people at the church.
Hmm.
Um, Anyone you meet is you. Some things you do have to keep inside, and some things you gotta let go,
Hmm.
and you gotta know who you're telling,
Yes.
and if they're gonna hold that, you know, to themselves, or they're gonna spread it out.
Yeah, that's true, man. Man, look, I've been around a little while. I've been around a little while, and just as I have been hurt, I've hurt people as well.
Hmm.
And I've learned, just reverting to what you mentioned, the church aspect is, of course, we want to be a community
Yeah.
where you see each other on a consistent basis. You build some type of rapport with one another, and at some point, trust is established to some degree, and you open up and share certain things, and
Yeah.
in what hopes without it being communicated, you're saying, okay, this seemed like this could be a safe place, so you share. Now, I've been in spaces and places where it was not always kept kept. So, for instance,
Yeah.
brother A shares something with me, just with me, but then I talk to you and say, hey man, let's go pray for so and so. He told me X, Y, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Now, I might be thinking, That's good because talking to Jay because we're praying for him.
Yeah.
But what I literally did was uncovered Brother A by sharing his business with Jay because he shared that with me in confidence.
Yeah.
Now, if he wanted Jay to know, he could have said, "Hey, man, I know you run with Jay. You let him know y'all pray for me."
Yeah.
Or he could have took the liberty and just shared it with you directly. So that's what I mean sometimes when we may do things out of ignorance in some aspects, but sometimes it can be almost like from a gossip perspective.
Yeah.
Where we're telling somebody business on the airs of we gonna pray for them. No, we're just gossiping in some sense. But I've once again I've been a part of and
we've all
understand
done it.
on both ends
Absolutely.
of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And when you alluded to sometimes that hurt can come from a spouse when you share something and then it's used against you in some form, and now you shut down and you give them 1-2 liners, "I'm good," knowing that you're hurting on the inside. So that can go both ways. That can, like, once again, it's family level, it's business level, it's church wide. It can be anything, man. Even in your own neighborhood and community. And so,
absolutely,
at the end of the day, man, I look at it from this perspective. We just have to guard our heart in those moments and being mindful of who we share certain things with, knowing that they really truly have your back. And if someone does share something with me, I've learned up until this point, I know, okay, look, I'm not just going to be sharing that stuff with somebody's business, someone else without permission, because they'll need to know.
Yeah.
And I've learned this when I was working for the IRS.
Oh, yeah.
We had, at our fingertips, I had access to anybody records I wanted. Wow. All I had to do was put the name in, boom, it is there.
Yeah.
But we were warned, only on a need-to-know basis do you ever go into a taxpayer's record. And that stuck with me. And still this day is, just because I have access doesn't mean I gain the access. Just because I have the ability to know doesn't mean I need to know.
Yeah.
And so when someone shares something with me, I treat it as such. I'm only going to share it with others if I have been given the privilege to share that information with them, or information that's going on in someone else's life. I don't need to know it if I don't need to know it. If it's needed for me to know, you're going to tell me. Or if it's that important, the Lord might show me. But other than that,
yeah,
I'm going to keep my distance.
Absolutely.
I'm going to keep my distance.
Yeah, because sometimes if someone comes to you in confident and tells you something, and it could be about someone else, it's like, what do you do with that information?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Or they're telling you this and this and that, and you're just like, okay, well, I'll pray for you, but what do you want me to do with that information?
Right.
Especially if it pertains to someone else or they're involved in this, and it's just kind of like, then you're carrying that.
So true.
Then
true.
You're carrying
so true.
that, like, man.
I had this conversation with an older person, maybe about 20 years my senior. And we'll be in the same circles from time to time, and they would just share information about other people to me. Now, I may know of them, but I really don't know them.
Yeah.
Like they know them. And I'm saying to myself, why are they telling me that?
Yeah.
I care not to know that anyway. But then I said to myself, if they are sharing someone else's information with me, it is a good chance.
Very good chance.
It is a good chance that they're sharing my information with others.
Absolutely.
So what I learned through that is I have to be selective of what I share with them.
Yeah.
Because if I share with them that gets to someone else, I'll be okay with it. it's not a deal. But I know that I'm not going to share with some private thoughts, some very personal things. I just know what not to share with them,
Mm-hmm.
and that comes through experiences. We may not always know that firsthand. I've learned that through that experience. That just teaches me, okay, I just need to be careful of what I share with this person. As loving, as caring as they can be, that's just an area that they have not yet matured in. Even at a 7 year of age in some sense. In
Yeah.
some sense. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but yeah, man, because even in that can turn south very quickly in some cases. That ruins relationships. That can sever marriages.
Yeah.
That can it could be a lot of different things. Be a lot of different things.
And this is not on my list. This I was just, I guess I need to say it. So
Hmm.
another 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 way you can look at it when being hurt. How about let's try to use that energy for good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
man, someone called me fat. I'm gonna teach him wrong.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
prove him wrong.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start walking. I'm gonna start going to the gym.
Yes.
Someone called me stupid. Hey, I'm gonna start reading some books. I'm gonna start
Hmm.
looking at videos of management or business. You know, instead of always playing the victim of being hurt. 'Cause sometimes that's what it is.
I mean,
To be
yes.
honest,
True. Yeah.
and instead of playing the victim, use that, that fuel that's inside of you for good
Yes.
instead of holding it and using it for bad and taking it out on your spouse, taking it out on your children, your coworkers, at work, or even people at the church house.
True. Yeah.
Just try to flip the script and be like, hey, okay, I'm hurt. I'm a hurt man. What can I do with this in a positive? How can I turn this into a positive?
Definitely. That's a good way to look at it. That's a definitely good way to look at it because I think as men sometimes we can beat ourselves up.
Definitely. Yeah.
We can beat ourselves up because we can feel as though we're not good enough.
Hmm.
You know, I fall short as a husband.
Well, I think
You know,
I don't want to cut you off, but I
no,
think
no,
a
no.
lot of it has to do with social media too.
True. Yeah.
You see the hype, and you see, oh man, he's able to take his family on vacation every year to
Mhm.
all these exotic places, and then your wife might see the same thing, say,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
look where he took her," you know, and that's just
Yeah.
another little notch that just like brings the ego down,
Yeah.
and that'll hurt a guy,
It can.
his feelings, and he's trying his best to do what he can with what he has,
And of
you know.
course, man, and sometimes those, even though that could be a very good gesture, not intended for any harm,
No.
but it's like with and once again internalizing it,
Hmm.
man, why I can't
Exactly.
bring my family here or my spouse there? And that could be it, and definitely those influences doesn't help.
Mm-mm.
At the same time, we have to know who we are
Yeah.
at the end of the day, and I'm not competing with the next man,
No.
the next husband, or the next father. You know what? We came into this union together. You knew this is how we started, whatever that looked like at that time. And
Hmm.
granted, we definitely want to be progressively improving in the ways of our marriage, our union, and as father and motherhood. But we're not measuring ourselves based on someone else's standard. Because guess what? We're going to always fall short. Somebody's always going to have
All the
a
time.
standard, a threshold that's much higher than we can possibly reach or even obtain.
Yeah.
And if we continue to use those as our gauge, man, we're gonna run ourselves crazy trying to do that.
Yeah.
And so, I've
Yeah.
I've learned over the years to be content. And contentment doesn't necessarily mean I'm satisfied. That means is I'm okay where I am.
Yeah.
I don't need the next newest this, or moving to the next bigger house, or change zip codes, or get the nice fancy car, or I need this six-figure job, or whatever the case may be, whatever we're trying to use
Hmm.
as your measuring stick of accomplishments. But as men, we have to get to the point that says, you know what? I am who I am, but the areas that I'm able to identify to change, and that's within my control to change,
Yeah.
I'm going to change. If I need to come alongside another brother or brothers that can provide a support or leverage for me to get to certain aspects, then I do that.
Hmm.
If I need to seek spiritual or professional help, then I would do that. But we have to do our due diligence. It's just not going to change because we want it to change.
Yeah.
That's true. So,
Hmm.
Jay, before we end, let's look at some of the things that we as men actually need healing from. One is father wounds, whether through absence or abuse, rejection or abandonment, shame from failure, sin, or addictions, unprocessed anger, sexual brokenness, performance based identity, trauma that was never addressed, loneliness without real brotherhood, emotional neglect, spiritual disillusionment, fear of vulnerability, control issues, generational patterns, identity confusion, unprocessed grief, and that lie that healing equals weakness, that real men
Hmm.
don't need help. These are just several of many other areas that we as men can definitely be healed from. And for me, as a man, I'm definitely in continual prayer that I continue to evolve into the man that God wants me to be,
Yeah.
even at moving into 55 years of age. I'm always open to the opportunity to grow, to learn, and to be better. And I pray for those who are listening and say, "Man, you're driving right down the street, my street. That's the letter in my mail. That's what I'm dealing with." And
Hmm.
I pray that you reach out to those in your corner, in your circle, that can be a strength to you. Or as Jay mentioned earlier, you can DM us, send us a message. We can communicate or however means needed for you, provide direction or guidance to the best of our ability for you. What you think, Jay?
Yeah. That. I mean, every man out there listening falls in one of these categories, and somewhere on this list. For myself, I'm putting myself out there. Um, I would put myself loneliness without real brotherhood.
Okay, that's good.
Um, I come from a big family,
Hmm.
but we're all kind of spread out throughout
Hmm.
Houston. We have a brother in California. I don't really have that brotherhood that I am searching for, that
Good.
I'm looking for, you
Okay.
know. So that's why when we do these podcasts, man, I'm just excited, to share with Marlo and our experiences together, and his experience and mine, and we just combine them. Because I really don't have that male group where I can be like, hey man, I really need some help.
Got it.
You know,
Got it.
I don't have that. It gets difficult, guys. There's times, yeah, you're just like, where do I turn? Your wife can only support you so much,
Correct.
and then it starts wearing on her, and then it trickles down to the kids. But yeah, if you find a group of guys or someone you can confide in, do it.
Yeah, that's good, man. I
Do it.
definitely appreciate your vulnerability. Because that's one aspect as men
Yeah.
that we don't find ourselves often enough is being vulnerable. And that's not a sign of weakness.
No.
Really, that's a sign of strength.
Mm-hmm.
That is camouflaged through the lens of weakness. And, being able to share that brotherhood, I would say the same in some ways for myself. When I was in Colorado, I lived there for 26 years.
Yeah.
I was able to build certain relationships that extended that. Being here, it's been challenging navigating that brotherhood in a sense of men that is seeking the same thing. And sometimes if there are men not seeking the same thing, it's hard to capture that.
Yeah.
Now, see, we as men, we can get together for a basketball game, for a
Yeah.
football game. We can go watch a boxing match. We can do all those things. And then for some men, that's brotherhood.
Yeah.
That's to an extent.
Yeah.
That's pretty much only on the surface. But
Absolutely.
when it comes down where we really need to sit down and chop it up about something,
Mm-hmm.
you see what I mean?
Yeah.
We get there is because
Yeah.
now we're uncovering something.
Yeah.
We're exposing a sensitive topic or area in our life. And it's like that Band-Aid. We peel it off slowly instead of just ripping that thing off and say, okay, here it is.
Yeah.
Hey, man, look, this is where I am. Look, I don't know what's going on. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm dealing with. Man, I just, hey, I'm just throwing that out there. And for some men, that'll be a shock and awe. It's because, man, how do I deal with that? This dude just told me that, man, I ain't got nothing for him.
Uh-huh.
I'm dealing with this.
Yeah. I got my own
I got my own issues. So it's like, but what I'm saying is, that's the brotherhood that you may be seeking. It's like, I want to be able to not only be vulnerable, because right now it could be hundreds of people going to watch this at some point.
Yeah.
And so now you put that out publicly, in a sense, for people you may or may not know. But then there are men that you do know, and you've been known for quite some time, but still don't have that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But still don't have that. And some can be in very close proximity, but the relationship has never evolved to get to that point where you can say, hey, man, whatever, this is where I am, this is where I'm going. But definitely pray for you on those lines for sure, Jay. And I know our journey, we've definitely been able to open up in a sense, especially on this platform, as I shared several weeks before. Some of the things we talk about, we're both hearing it for the very first time.
Yeah.
So these different topics in which we have is peeling back that onion into our lives, for a moment to say, oh, okay, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Or, man, I didn't know Marlon experienced that. You see what I mean? So that lets us in a little bit to be able to know how to pray for one another, how to encourage one another. But then it opens up opportunities of vulnerability to say, hey, man, let me holler at Jay for a quick second. Outside of the podcast thing, it's like, okay, because our relationship shouldn't just be solely based on the podcast. You see what I mean? We have to say, okay, look, we do get together, whether it's for breakfast or for lunch at times, and we just talk about life. And so, and that's realness.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning steps to a brotherhood that we seek, but also others may seek.
Absolutely. And then again, you must take that step to get healed, because you can't help anybody else.
So true.
You have to do it, because if not, someone might be experiencing the same thing you're experiencing, but since you're holding that in, that they don't know how to deal with it either, and then they get to that point where it's, they can't return from it. And unfortunately, we do have 75% of males. I mean, suicide in the U.S. are males.
That's a lot.
And there's a reason for that.
There's a reason for that.
So this podcast is not about throwing guilt. It's not about guilt. It's more of a challenge.
Yes.
We want you to ask yourself and be honest. What pain am I leading from? Who pays a price when I avoid healing? And what changes if I finally face it with God and with trusted brothers? What's going to change? You got to ask yourself these questions and really seek down, seek for it deep down. And
That's good, man. So when a man
I
heals,
lost my train of
that's
thought.
fine. The story doesn't end with him, Jay.
No.
It multiplies through his family,
Yeah.
his fate, and his future. Here's the call to action for all of us. Talk to a brother. Sit with God honestly. Stop surviving and start healing. And if you're feeling that pull right now, maybe today is your day to invite Jesus in for real healing and real transformation. If that's you, let us pray this prayer. Dear God, I know that I'm a sinner and I ask for your forgiveness. I believe you died for my sins and rose from the dead. I turn this I turn from my sins and invite you to come into my life. I choose to trust you and follow you as my Lord and Savior. In your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
If you pray this prayer, just let us know. Drop a comment, send us a message. We will love to talk to you. And once again, we thank you for tuning in to Mantra Ranch and Tuso Experience. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Be
Yep.
blessed.
Blessed.